Hi everyone, it's KIREI here for Arden Creative Studio, and I have a brand new layout for you. And I'm primarily using the fabulous new Premium Cardstock. I'm also using a few elements from the Season of Joy collection, the very lovely festive collection designed by Katie Petit. So I have pulled out one of the dies and quickly gone past it, but it is the Maker Series branch mix, and I've used 3 of the leaf branches in that die. And you can see here, I've drawn a circle, 9.5 inch circle on my bright white premium cardstock, and there's 2 whites, the natural white and the bright white. I'm going for the bright white here because I really wanted that really sort of crisp white background. And then I'm just layering some of these leaf branches around here, and I've used 2 of the greens, Hunter's Green and Moss, to cut all of my leaf branches. I'm sort of just playing around with it, but I've got that circle there as my guide, and I will start to get these branches stuck down. And what you'll see is I'm just sticking them down along that central branch, and that way later I will lift up those leaves, because that way I can just get that lovely dimension that I do like to get on my layouts. Nothing is ever, completely flat. So yeah, so you can see the 2 different tones there that I'm using, and I have cut loads of leaves out. I actually had plenty left over, to be completely honest, but I wasn't sure, so I thought I'm just going to have plenty ready to go, so that I can build up a really nice leafy wreath as my background. So there we go. I've got 3 different rows of the branches in the 2 different colours. So as I say, the 2 greens, Hunter's Green and Moss. And then I've got my photos here, and I have 8 photos. So I'm just sitting them around in sort of clusters. So I've got just around the wreath, and I'm just working out where they're going to sit, because I've got the 3rd leaf branch that I've die cut as well, and I'm going to add those. I'm going to tuck those in round. So I just wanted to make sure I had my photo placement down right, so that I wasn't going to, stick them in and then they would be completely covered up, because obviously the main part of the wreath, where the photos are going to sit, I am covering up, obviously, and quite a bit of those the leafy bits that I've got down already. So I just wanted to add a little bit more, so that they were popping out from outside, from the edges of the photos and photo clusters. So yeah, so I'm going to keep working on that. You can see I'm actually starting to lift these leaves here, because I have done that on the others now already. So there we go, got all of those set down, and then I'm going to mount my photos. I wasn't sure whether I was going to or not, but I decided I just wanted to add a bit more pop of colour, because I've got lots of green now. So I'm bringing in a number of other colours. So I've picked out, this is the Arctic blue, that lovely icy blue. And then I'm bringing in the cherry red. And then I've also got the Amazon, which is like a deep tealy blue. So I've used the 3 different colours to mount my photos. I have obviously distressed the edges of those. Then I decided, actually, I could bring in some stenciling detail. So this is the Maker Series stencil called Lots of Leaves, and I'm using it with Distress Oxide in Evergreen Bow, and I'm just adding elements around the layout. Now, to be fair, obviously, ideally, you'd stencil before you stuck everything down, but I hadn't decided that at the time. So, but it actually worked out fine, because I'm just wanting to add just a little bit, just sort of peeping out around it, not too heavy. And actually, adding it beforehand would have been a bit challenging, because I wouldn't have been completely sure how my wreath was going to look. And I wanted to make sure that you could see the stenciling. So it sort of worked out in my favour anyway. Okay, I am just punching out loads of little tiny circles here, and these are going to be little red berries that I'm going to dot around the wreath, just again to add a little bit more pop of colour. So that's using obviously the cherry red cardstock. Now the cardstock, I have to say, is lovely. It's 300 GSM and has a really lovely linen texture on one side, and then it's smooth on the back. And this is in the 12 by 12 packs. Now they do also do it in A4 as well, so which is perfect if you're sort of card maker, or you do scrapbook in a smaller size. So Now I have to say in the A4 it's smooth. So whereas the 12 by 12 has got that textured side in that linen texture. Okay, so I can get my photos stuck down now, and you'll see I've been adding foam tape to the top edge of my photos, and then they'll be flat on the bottom. I tend to do that in most cases, mainly because I just want to get some dimension in there anyway. And often I'm sort of tucking things in behind the top of the photos, whereas I'm layering over the bottom of photos. So that's sort of where I tend to do that. Okay, so photos stuck down, adding the little berries, getting them glued down. I'm not sure about you, but I have various different implements like this one here with the sticky bit. And honestly, never none of them. I just find they just never release the same. Just as easily. I feel I'm always using my finger to release them. I don't know why, whether it's just me and my technique, but yeah, I'm never quite sure. Okay, now I'm bringing in just a little bit of the season of joy um, elements. I've got some laser cuts. I've got some ephemera pieces and rub-on transfers that you can see just over on the right of the layout there, and I will add some enamel dots later. So I didn't want to go overboard with these. I just wanted to add a little bit just to bring in something more than just all the die cut elements. So, and it also allowed me to add a little bit other color as well. So I've just got the little Father Christmas down there. I've got the car over on the right, which worked particularly well because these photos were from a recent trip just at the end of November into London with my lovely friends Wendy and Morag, and we went in to see Selfridges to see their Disney lights, and we went pop by St Christopher's Place, and that's where that car, if you can just see over there on the right in my photo, there was like a very festive car and a telephone box. Yeah, so the photos are from the Selfridges lights outside, and then the Carnaby Street lights, and then there's this bus down on the bottom left here. It just was coming past us as we were taking some other photos, and it actually on the front of the bus it said North Pole Road. So I thought that was very cool. So obviously had to take a photo of that. So yeah. So getting all of these pieces stuck down. So I've got some sentiments here. So I've got the over on this one here is Holly Jolly Christmas. The tealy one on the left is Love This Most of All. At the bottom, I've got Christmas Time and Dear Santa, and then the bottom right is Under the Tree, which was appropriate because that was obviously a Christmas tree. And then I've got some of the rub-on transfers here. So I just pulled out a number of words. I've got joy. This one's magical, and then I've got twinkling lights up here. And I think, is that everything? Oh, I do add another one actually. I'm not sure if I add it here, but I do add jolly just over to the right on the inside of the wreath. There we are, just making sure I've got it completely down. They really go on lovely, but I'm just making sure I had everything down because it's going slightly under the leaf there. And then I've just got this red gingham bow. I've just tied up from my stash, and I'm just going to add that to the top of the wreath, sort of curling it round. Then I've got this craft die, the Merry and Bright one, and I've cut it 3 times in the cherry. Now, because I like dimension, sticking the title flat, I was like, oh, that I just need something a bit more. And it's very, very fine and beautifully detailed, but I couldn't get foam pads on the back of that. So I've cut it 3 times, and then I'm just going to stick them all together, which will give me that extra dimension that I do like to add. So yeah, so I'll get the 3 of these stuck down together, and then I can add that to the top of the wreath there. So that's it, sat really nicely over the green. So I had to be quite careful here because it's very delicate, and the little sort of twirly bits move a little bit. So just being careful that I've got that nicely stuck together evenly, and then I can get that final one down. But yeah, it's not, this isn't something I've come up with. I've seen it before, but it is a great idea if you want to build up a little bit more dimension in a title or any die cut elements by layering up a number of pieces. You do create that. Okay, ribbon is now stuck down, and then I can get that title add it to the top. So I've got that nice little gap there. I had to know about adding it on the white, and I couldn't quite work out where it was going to go, to be completely honest. And so I just felt that central point up there, worked for me. I could have added it over, on the white, some area, but I also wanted to add my journaling as well, because that's something that I do always add journaling to my layouts. And then, of course, I couldn't have a festive layout without a bit of sparkle. So I'm just bringing out my favourite gold watercolour, and I'm just adding some little gold splatters around all of the photo clusters and the wreath. So, yeah, just to finish it off. And then I'm almost done. I do go back in actually after I'd finished this, and I did add the enamel dots, which I mentioned earlier. I just added a few in the deep sort of teal just to bring that colour into the wreath as well. Now, here you go. There's the final layer, and you'll see some of the close-ups. You can see the enamel dot there that I added, and the close-ups of all the fabulously die-cut leaves in the premium cardstock that is obviously just been released by Arden Creative Studio. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in another video. Bye for now.